Hello, I'm Belinda Johnson, Managing Director of Mindfull. Here with me today is one of my favorite clients, Jason Shaw from Delegat Wines. My favorite because they do wine. And of course, I love wine and especially passionate about wine in a global sense, where New Zealand, we make a huge difference in the wine industry. So thank you. Welcome, Jason.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Jason, tell me a little bit about the history of planning in Delegats, what you guys used and where you've come from.
All right, so my name's Jason Shaw. I'm the Group Financial and Business Planning Manager for Delegat. I'm responsible for the budgeting and 10-year planning for the group. Our planning is underpinned at a 10-year level where we plan out 10 years in advance because of the lead times to get vineyards productive. And that long-term planning cycle is what has underpinned the development of our planning to this point.
So in the past, Jason, did spreadsheets feature in your planning at all? How are spreadsheets impacting the business?
Spreadsheets, our friend that we love to hate. I read a comment the other day from a management guru called Director that said, "Don't tell me what you're doing, tell me what you'll stop doing." Spreadsheets for us are great. They're great to customize. You can get things out on them, but to be honest, at a planning level, it causes a lot of pain and effort around versions of the truth, quality of the answers that are coming out, and us really understanding where information is coming from. A big thing with spreadsheets for us is version control, and especially for the fact that when we're running a central planning model, there are multiple people that are giving inputs to that. And with spreadsheets, that causes a bit of a problem because multiple people are causing or creating multiple different models outside of our central TM1 planning solution. And then what happens is version of the truth becomes a really big issue for us.
So with your planning solution, how did you guys start? What did you change around? If you came from a very spreadsheet-driven planning,
yes,
and then obviously decide this is not going to work for you. So what did you guys do? What did you change?
Yeah, so we had a lot of spreadsheets. We had a massive spreadsheet that this is 8 or 9 years ago now that took, I think it was 2 weeks to refresh. So TM1 came in, it replaced that and created structure and integrity around that planning solution. From there, what we've done over the last 8 to 9 years is refine that model and get it a lot quicker and faster from what it originally was built for. It's very much business planning focused, which is the core function of the system. But recent developments that we've been able to do is to integrate with our ERP systems, pick up data and version control outputs to provide outputs of data into data warehouses, and essentially getting more users into the system and understanding what's going on inside it.
So you were mentioning to me, Jason, that with the tool you're now able to get some real insights into your cost of sales and that complicated planning. Give me some examples of what you guys have been able to achieve.
Yeah, so for our planning, there's two drivers. The main drivers that drive our P&L is volume and price. What we used to do was collect all that information from a 10-year planning perspective through spreadsheets. And it was also at a different data cut to what our actuals were coming through at a customer level in our ERP system. So what we did with the recent development was took that away. We've now automated that capture of data from our teams that are out in the markets. We get the volume first of all for a 24-month rolling view and then overlay our strategic 10-year plan to that. The other thing that we've been able to do with the help of Mindfull and IBM's Power through TM1 is really dive into the ERP system that holds the source of the truth for our pricing information. So we've been able to extract that through queries automatically and pull that straight into the system. That used to be captured by spreadsheets and owned by the national sales managers in the different markets. And when we made that change, that was a bit of a nerve-wracking time for them because they felt that they lost control of being able to, feed those inputs into the model. But what we were able to prove to them was that we could get accuracy and completeness through diving straight into the ERP system and querying that data straight out. So the two main drivers for our plan, it's the top line is case volume, the second level is revenue, and those two functions now are automated through system data capture.
Fantastic. So you guys are a business that have exchange rate, you have demand, you have different markets, you have quite a complicated business that most people don't understand. You start growing grapes, that leads into bottles, but it's such complicated supply chain modeling. How important is the planning tool for pricing your Sauvignon Blanc in the next 2 years into the Chinese market and the European market? How important is it?
Pricing is an interesting one for us. Like I said before, it's one of the key drivers of our budgeting process. In capturing that data, we need to make sure, first of all, it's right. And it's all different by customer. And so being able to, extract that straight from our ERP system, which is invoicing those customers, is the first cab off the rank in terms of accuracy and completeness. What that allows us to do then is create a secure base for our planning to then go, well, how are we being impacted in different markets by different customer mixes and changes in those mixes? Previously, been captured in spreadsheets, that data capture when it was averaged or summed up or, manually flexed to get to the answer we want. When there was changes subsequent to that, we were never able to capture it or really see the full impact of what that was going to do. Now, because it's all automated, we can pull that information and query that into the model when we want. And then what we can do is check that against what we're doing from an actual perspective, and we can see where those issues are, or we can then focus in on the hot areas and say, well, if we decide to do a price increase strategically, how is that going to impact that market?
So the insights you've gained through the planning in terms of your costing and your pricing, have you been able to use that in terms of specific marketing campaigns for specific customers? Have you used that data?
I think what it has done for us is it's taken away the complication of trying to figure that data out as an input to begin with, because it's already sitting in the ERP system. What that's done is allowed us and my team time to use analytics in areas. Instead of data capture and processing, we're actually said, that's handled now. We're actually going to move our attention to things that are more chunky, that actually drive that sales volume, drive that profitability, and our trade marketing space, and going, well, what does our budget look like for the team going forward, and how does that link to the sales volumes that we're now automating and capturing? So we've been able to facilitate really great discussions between our teams and also like our marketing teams and our sales teams to then say, let's dive into this detail now, because we've got the time, because it's allowed us to come away from preparing the information that we used to.
So great point around the timing. So you said previously 8 years ago, you came from a very heavy spreadsheet-driven business to now it sounds like a very proactive planning where decisions are made. How much time have you saved yourself through this process?
In terms of time saving, inputting budget iterations and trying to get that into the model, I think we would save each time we would iterate, that would take us 2 days to get the data into the model and then back out to check to see how that looked. With the automation, I can now do that within under 2 hours, and wow. I can do it myself. I used to take us a team of 3 to get that in over 2 days. Now I can do that myself, or one of my team members can get that done within 2 hours and turn it around. We also have the ability with the functionality that Mindfull helped us create, is we can gatekeep. So we can say, well, let's see what the new pricing looks like in the system with all the new customers. Do we want to bring that through from a planning perspective, or do we use our previous rates for use of budget so we can flex? And that functionality, I think, is really, really important, and it drives a lot of transparency for our managers to see that data has been captured correctly.
Fantastic. So Michael Mackie, our technical director here at Mindfull, we've heard a lot about Jason on spreadsheets and budgeting and planning. In your experience, how easy is it to take the spreadsheets out of your planning and implement a solution?
I mean, that's a very good question. I guess the first thing, it really starts with your data. So if you've got good data to actually systemize that and bring that into a model, it's not difficult to do. But one of the things we have to be careful not to do is just basically replicate the spreadsheet model, because you want to also add value. So it starts with the data, identifying what data is required, bring that into the planning solution, and then look at what sort of flexing you want to do in the solution, what sort of assumptions you want to tie the numbers to, so you can get that automated budget or forecast that you're looking for.
Fantastic, that's really great. Tell me a little bit around, so we have the version control and you talked around data and your data. What if you don't have good data? Could you still get to a budgeting planning solution without having great data, or does your data need to be perfect?
This is quite a key question, because when we start out on these projects, a lot of customers say, I have fantastic data, I don't really have a data problem. But when they actually bring the numbers into the system, it really allows them to analyze their base data as well. And they actually find that, there were issues. And there were issues in their old Excel models because they didn't realize they had these data problems. So yeah, sure, you can bring in the bad data or bring in data with issues in it, and you can actually use the solution to improve your data quality as well. So you can still bring in the data that you've got and use the system just to analyze that data and continuously improve the data as you go.
Michael, what are your thoughts around that, getting those insights into data and capturing some more than numeric information in a budgeting solution, capturing some where you've got some descriptive or reasons why things aren't working? What are your thoughts around a budgeting solution? Should we have this narrative comments into the budgeting solution?
Yeah, I think that's imperative that we actually bring in the narrative information as well, because what you need to do is be able to explain the numbers. And sometimes when you're looking at the numbers and you're tracing them through, you want to add an annotation to basically explain a variance. It doesn't really make sense to go into a spreadsheet or go into your notepad and actually jot down what that is. What you really need to do, or how you get value out of that, is by storing the commentary with the actual data itself.
Yeah. And also just on that data governance question around auditability of a planning solution. Now in Excel, there's no auditability. You don't know who's changed what number, who's put this in. What are the requirements for auditability in a planning solution? Should you have it? Is it important? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you need to know when the number's been updated and by who. And that's been one of the pain points around the old spreadsheet-based system. People are emailing around these workbooks. It's very difficult to keep track of who's updating what and when.
Yeah. I mean, my story, when I was a CFO in a property development business, I made $1 million mistake once in a budget. No one knew it was me, but I knew. But, it was those sorts of mistakes and auditability. I did have a great customer example once where the customer said, I didn't change the budget numbers. And we had a look at the audit trail. Yes, you did last night, quite late, So it's always an interesting discussion around auditability and transparency in terms of numbers.
Yeah, I mean, a number of our customers come to us and they're like, oh, okay, our numbers have changed. We don't understand why. And by just bringing up the audit logs and saying, well, actually, someone in your organisation has made this change, then they can go and have the conversation and just understand those changes a bit more. Previously they couldn't do that.
Touching on data governance as well, in terms of the way I've been leading the design of our model, I really find benefit through data flow through TI process and separating that out between cubes. I know we're getting a little bit low in the data level here, but that's great instead of being rule linked, because sometimes you could never trace that change through. And now what we're able to do is gatekeep and then control when data moves around. That now is setting the foundation for us to be able to start extending the system out to a bigger user base. And I think that's the win, is where we can actually, push this system out to more users, and those users who are doing the data input in the spreadsheet already, they'll be doing it directly into the system, and we can start leveraging things like annotations and gatekeeping that information flow. It'll be really beneficial for us.